In no particular order, I would like to respectfully welcome to the Faculty of Law all representatives, all principal officers of the university and their representatives. I recall that I met the representative of the university librarian earlier today. You're welcome very much, sir. I would also like to welcome all the teams of faculty from various faculties across the university community. I would like to recognize your presence. You're very welcome to the Faculty of Law, OBAFEMI, AWOLOWO University. I would also very quickly like to recognize all professors here present. We're happy to have you in our meeting this morning, and we do not take your presence very lightly in no way. Still, I would also like to recognize very importantly the I-Chiefs and the OBAs that we have present in our midst this morning. As a Yoruba lady, I understand that we should give due to whom honor is. We should give honor to whom it is due. So in that light, I would like to recognize the presence of Chief Tajuddin Olubodu, their placing of your and gentlemen, please give your hands together in round of applause. You're welcome. I would also like to recognize Soko, that's Soko Olojo of Ife. You're very welcome, sir. I would also like to recognize the presence of I-Chief Ifuoluwa or Remodu. Ladies and gentlemen, we can do better. If you say so, we go at I-Chiefs and Obas in high prestige. I would also like to recognize the presence of the chairperson of the NBA branch in the person of Mrs. Temitope Olajulo Esquire. You're very welcome. All members of the NBA and also members of the NBA from across the different parts of the country, from the branch and from other branches, we welcome you very well to this very important occasion. We welcome everyone. In the course of the event, we will still do well to recognize all other activities that are well represented here. Now, not forgetting my constituency. You know, they say it's the biggest masquerade that you announce their presence. So I want to welcome all members of the Faculty of Law, AWOLOWO University, both academic and non-teaching staff. You're welcome. This is our event. You're very welcome. And to my students, too, I can see some of you over there. Make yourself welcome, and we'll be kicking off in a very short while. Please be patient with us, sir and ma'am.
Honorable Justice Dapo Adeniji to come to the high table.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can do better. You're very welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, you can still do better. I think if you are in court, you will stand it. So please don't say that anymore. I know you are used to that. Let me tell you how we are navigating the law. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
May I also invite the representative of the university librarian, Dr. A.A. Okunlola. I believe he's here with us. Okay, I saw him some minutes ago. May I humbly invite the guest lecturer, Professor A.O. SANNI. You are welcome, sir. May I also invite the Dean of the Faculty of Law, Professor A.A. Adedeji. I believe others will be invited as they join us. I would also like to invite one of our fathers in the Faculty of Law. That is Professor A.A. Idowu. May I also humbly invite Professor Akorede Yusuf to the high table. That is the HOD Public Law. Okay, I believe you will join us later.
Please permit me for this very introduction that I did earlier. I would like to recognize the presence of all heads of departments in the Faculty of Law. I can see here Dr. Mrs. Uluwabi, she's here represented, the head of department of international law. You're very welcome. I can see my HOD, Dr. Henry Adeleke, is also very welcome, sir. Professor Achula, I've not seen him. He's actually the man of the moment because he's moving around to make sure that things are very well coordinated as the chairman of the local organizing committee for this year. I saw my vice team earlier, Dr. Eli Rahim. You are very welcome, sir. I believe it's somewhere very nice. We recognize you very deeply, sir. Thank you very much. I also saw the faculty secretary. I appreciate your presence, sir. Mr. Bamidele, you're welcome, and all other members of the faculty general office. We do not take your presence there lightly. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
May I humbly ask us to stand up for the national anthem. Please, let's take Great Ife anthem before we have our seat. May I also recognize the presence of Professor Mrs. Adedeji, former Dean, Faculty of Science. Please Kindly stand up for recognition, ma. Oh, ma, you've been urged to come to the high table. Professor Mrs. Adedeji. I have information that she was here. Oh, okay. I believe she has stepped out. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. We will.
Very welcome.
May we now have the welcome address from the Dean Faculty of Law, Professor Adedeji.
The chairman of this occasion, our amiable, Honorable Justice Dapo Adeniji of the Osun State High Court, the chief host of this occasion, Professor Eyitope Ogunbodede, Vice Chancellor of OBAFEMI AWOLOWO University, who have been reliably informed will be represented by the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor Olomola, who is on his way. The principals, officers of the university hereby present, all deans and directors hereby present, heads of department hereby present, the chairman of OBAFEMI AWOLOWO University 68th Anniversary Celebration Program, Professor Charles Ukeje, who have been informed is on his way, the representative of Kabiesi, the Oni of IFE, all professors in the faculty and professors that are around, the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, ILE-IFE, and other NBA branches hereby present. The members of the First State of the realm, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure and a heart full of gratitude to the Almighty God, the giver of life, and the one who made it possible for all of us to be here for this occasion, that I welcome you all to this program. I want to specifically present the faculty's gratitude to our guest lecturer, my good friend, the erudite amiable Professor Abiola Olaitan's SANNI of the Department of Industrial and Commercial Law. He's a former scholar and even a practitioner in the field of taxation and senior advocate of Nigerian DESIGNATE, for accommodating our request to him to be the guest speaker of today despite the extremely short notice. Professor SANNI, thanks a lot, and may God Almighty continue to lead you. Let's give him a round of applause. When I contacted him and I said, you are delivering the lecture, the notice was very short. He said, it's very short, but you know you can't call me and I will say no. And I will be there. So despite his tight schedule, he's here this morning. Thank you very much once again. God bless you, sir. I also want to thank the chairman of this occasion, the Honorable Justice Dapo Adeniji of the Osun State High Court, who also willingly and without any hesitation, on being informed of our desire for him to chair this occasion, agreed to come despite the very short notice as well. It was just last week that I called him and he said, well, he will put us number one on his first list today. We are very grateful, Milonga. Let's give him a round of applause once again. God continue to uphold you. One interesting fact I would like to draw the attention of this audience to is the fact that Professor Abiola SANNI, Justice Dapo Adeniji, and my humble self belong to the 1985-89 set of Great Ife. We all entered this university in 1985, and maybe by divine design or coincidence, Professor SANNI is the guest speaker today. Justice Adeniji is the chairman of this occasion, and my humble self, the dean of the faculty, as the host of the occasion. Let's give the 85 cents a round of applause. To God be the glory. This year is the 68th year of the existence of OBAFEMI AWOLOWO University. University came into existence by the Act of Parliament of the whole Western region in 1961. Over the last 60 years, the university has grown in leaps and bounds and has emerged as one of the highly respected institutions in Africa and even globally, based not only on its unique, beautiful architectural design, of its structure, and the landscape and environment which is unparalleled anywhere in the world, but also it has earned this befitting honor of being the most, but also through exploits recorded in the field of research and teaching that has resulted in the production of brilliant, intellectually sophisticated graduates that are all over the world, making their marks in their various fields. In our own field, law, great IFE has come to dominate legal education and even practice in Nigeria. Hardly any year will pass without the names of an IFE or many IFEs appearing on the list of newly appointed senior advocates of Nigeria. This year, we have about 5. And 2 out of the 10 selected, from academics. The implication of this is that we have a lot to thank God Almighty for and to celebrate the greatness and exploit of this university. In the Faculty of Law, today's program is our own way of joining the university to celebrate the 60 years of advancing the frontier of knowledge and contributing to national growth and development. The topic of today's lecture, taxation and fiscal federalism, imperative for national development, no doubt is appropriate and apposite for an occasion like this, as it aligns with OAU's philosophy of focusing on research and studies that bears relevance and will be able to facilitate tackling and solving the national problems and challenges with the ultimate goal of providing solutions that will propel the nation in the positive direction of enhanced growth, economic development in an atmosphere of peace and tranquility. Those familiar with the unfolding events in Nigeria today will surely be aware of the ongoing agitation on the issues of taxation and fiscal federalism. The matter has generated so much heat, despite the fact that it is in court. A point, in fact, one noting about the whole hula baloo is that many people who have been commenting on this issue have been doing so on the basis of ignorance. Today's lecture will illuminate the issues on the topic, enlighten all of us, deepen our knowledge, and of course it will aid the formulation of appropriate national initiative that will not only facilitate the resolution of the issues, but also the emergence of a roadmap for national economic growth and development through fiscal federalism. It is against this background that the choice of today's guest speaker was made. Professor Abiola SANNI is not only a brilliant academic, he's also a consummate legal practitioner with special focus on taxation. Since I've known him, it is taxation, taxation, taxation. Let's give him a round of applause, please. In this field, he has, by a date of hard work and focus, carved a niche for himself. So from his rich, diverse, and robust background as a teacher researcher, and also as a practitioner of national and international repute, our senior advocate of Nigerian designate will no doubt do immense justice to this naughty topic. The taste of the pudding, no doubt, is in the eating. So don't let me go further. Let me leave the remaining work in that regard for Professor Abiola SANNI to help us to trash out. Also, today, the Faculty of Law will officially be opening its law clinic, tagged Great IFE Law Clinic. The idea of having a law clinic is to follow the current trend in legal education globally. The whole legal tradition of heavy reliance on theoretical legal learning, which hitherto appear to be the order of the day in Nigeria, has been discovered through research as not being the best approach for legal education. Learning is a continuous process, and education is a crucial method of passing knowledge. Clinical legal education has been found to be the most effective method of passing impactful legal education onto the student. An essential component of clinical legal education is the operation of law clinic, which will serve as a bridge between the classrooms and legal practices. Apart from law students putting into practical action on what they have to learn in the classroom, we also help the student to serve as a bastion of legal aid to our legally disadvantaged by offering paralegal support to a great extent. It is, in essence, clinical education is a new pattern of legal education that uses the form for reference that medical school use with clinics to cultivate interns to introduce the pattern of clinical education to legal education. In an actual or suppositional legal scenario and under the teacher's guidance through real cases and participation in lawsuits in person, students will understand and study law, diagnose and prescribe the legal problem of clients, and provide solution for their problems and legal service. Therefore, clinical legal education prepares students better for the task of meeting the needs of clients in multivarious scenarios through different methods that use a number of interactive teaching strategies. These include brainstorming, case studies, community resource problem, community impact project, group discussions, lectures, mock trials, client counselings, and mooting. Today, ILE-IFE clinic will officially be declared open, and we believe that it will help the faculty in its quest for the production of high-skilled law graduates. In rounding up this morning, I would like to thank my colleagues in the faculty. I want to thank all members of the local organizing committee of this occasion, ably represented by Professor O.A. Fatula, who unfortunately is unavoidably absent this morning for working tirelessly to organize this program. I'm indeed very grateful for your support. I also want to thank all the heads of department for their support since I assumed duty as the Dean of the Faculty of Law. I want to thank all the professors as well for their support and kind advice they are always giving all the time. Finally, I want to thank everybody that is here this morning for honoring us with your presence. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Please, you can do better. You can do our leader. We also invite to the high table the representative of the Vice Chancellor of the University, Professor AWOLOWO. What we recognize again is Chief Ibuku or Ebuku, all the way from, he came all the way from Ebuku. He's a great friend of the faculty and friend of our guest lecturer today. Please let him another round of applause. He came along with his wife and daughter. You are welcome, sir. You are welcome, ma'am.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on very quickly as we do not intend to waste anyone's time this morning. And the very next item that we have in our program of events is the welcome address by the Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Yitobe Ogunbodede, who is ably represented by Professor AWOLOWO. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. First, I have to apologize for coming late. I was drafted here from another meeting. the VCs unavoidably absent. It's a pleasure on behalf of the Vice Chancellor and OBAFEMI AWOLOWO University, and especially the Faculty of Law, to greet you as you assemble for this public lecture. And I also welcome the guest speakers, Professor SANNI and the chairman, the Dean, and I think I can see Professor Ibu there. You're welcome, sir. And all the professors here, I welcome you to this public lecture. Coincidentally, this is we're listening to the nitty-gritty of fiscal federalism from the legal perspective, because that is really where the knotty issues are. And if you look at what is going on in the country today, you discover that this topic is apt at this critical time. And of course, taxation. We know what is happening at the international market to the price of crude oil and the forecast for the Nigerian market, not only Nigeria, for oil exporting countries in the next 30 or 20 years. Something has to be done to the system of taxation. So I believe that we are going to have a very robust discussion today, and thank God I know the guest speaker. We have met at a different occasion, and I know he's more than qualified to take us through the nitty-gritty of taxation and fiscal federalism in Nigeria. So on behalf of the Vice Chancellor again, I welcome you to this occasion, and I wish you fruitful deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Olowola is the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, and that's just our direct neighbor in the Faculty of Law. We are very grateful, sir. Thank you very much. Moving on very quickly, we'll be taking the opening remarks from the chairman of this occasion in the person of Honorable Justice Dako Adeji. Sir, please would like to have your opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you earlier that if you're in your church, you can have to stand up once it's time. So please, you can do better like that.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can you have a seat? Permit me to sit on the already established protocol so that speaker today, Professor Abiola Soni, who has made a name for himself in Nigeria's legal, academic, and public financial spaces. The 60th year of continuous learning and culture is a milestone worthy of celebrating with no less a remarkable event as this anniversary lecture. A program such as this affords us the opportunity to intellectually review the journey of our nationhood with specific regards to the workings of a political economy as rooted in the laws of the land. I therefore thank the management of the Faculty of Law for putting together this wonderful event, which is a platform to have one of those all-important national discussions. For nearly 7 decades now, oil exports have continued to be the mainstay of our national revenue. More importantly, the oil boom of the 1970s diverted the country's attention from other channels of heavy foreign exchange, while the oil and gas sector would later become the source of 95% of our export earnings, 75% of government revenue in the year 2020, according to data from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. However, the search of many nations across the globe for alternative sources of energy and the current trend of depleting oil reserves in Nigeria are indeed ominous that continued reliance on oil as the main source of our revenue is not sustainable. There is therefore an urgent need to look inward and explore our various alternatives to oil, chief among which is taxation. But how government revenue is earned and distributed is a function of the system adopted and practiced in a given society. In Nigeria, we purport to practice federalism. Whether we are truly a federalist state or just a semblance of this can be seen in recurring constitutional crises that have necessitated calls for an amendment of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is 2021. If all is well with our federalism and the ground law upon which it is granted, whether government or the federation and federal government are stipulated in section 4(2) and 3 and sections 5(3)(b) and C of the 1999 Constitution, for instance, refer to one and the same thing should not be a question to belabor our already busy courts at this age and time. This issue is currently before the court, whether we have a federal government of Nigeria or we have a government of the federation. Should the states and the local governments, these are posers, these are questions, should the states and local government be constitutionally granted autonomy over resources in their territories while remitting specified percentage of revenue from those resources to the government at the center, as it was in the case in the First Republic? Or we should maintain the status quo with governors going cap in hand to Abuja every month to take what is due to their state in the federal allocation? Is it bad for our growing federalism for state governors to fight the government at the center anytime they are denied their rights to portions of government revenues, while local government, state legislatures and judiciaries are crippled and left to languish at the mercy of the state governors for resources they are constitutionally entitled to? Our states, this is another question, our states' right to insist on collecting value-added tax within their territories as opposed to how the federal government has been collecting VAT generated from businesses domiciled in their states. Is the current manner of sharing VAT collected among the various states of the federation constitutional and equitable? These are many more questions that the guest speaker of today, Professor SANNI, an accomplished practitioner, researcher and opinion leader in the field of constitutional law and taxation, will do justice to in the course of his lecture. I therefore crave your indulgence for an undivided attention as the learned senior advocate designate takes us on this journey of constitutional awakening. I welcome you all to this event and wish you all an engaging day ahead. I thank you.
Next on the program is the news of today's program. But before we call on the guest speaker to the podium, please let me humbly recognize Professor Aaron from the Faculty of Pharmacy in our list. After this, please recognize Dr. Mrs. Aaron. Is one of us. Welcome, ma'am. I also recognize our online participants all over the world. I also recognize members of the media, president, and women in our midst. Welcome. Now my colleague, Mrs. Adejimo, will be taking the citation of the guest lecturer.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I have a very huge task to perform this morning, and as a budding tax scholar myself, I feel kind of dwarfed, to have to read the citation of the very, very rare Professor AWOLOWO. As a former student of the faculty myself, I do have the privilege, I missed it very narrowly, of being taught by Professor AWOLOWO, but I met the Blue Bible, and I think that did a lot of justice for us in the course of our life. As I read the citation of Professor AWOLOWO, I would like to very humbly request that you please stand. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor AWOLOWO SANNI I must say that the choice of this versatile professor of law, a renowned tax law expert and scholar, and a senior advocate of Nigeria designate as the guest lecturer on this occasion can only be described as unimpeachable. As we say in law, res ipsa loquitur, and you see this and confirm with me very sure. Now let me warn you before I start that this is a very lengthy citation, and I wasn't joking or kidding when I said earlier that I'm dwarfed to be reading both in size. If you look at us, even you can see that I'm actually shorter. Then even from the content of what I have before me, I'm really privileged for this opportunity. Professor Abiola Olaitosoni was born in the 1960s. He's a native of this ancient town of ILE-IFE, and for Prof, I can attest that this is some sort of homecoming for him in so many ways. After his primary and secondary education, Prof gained admission to study law at this faculty and this prestigious institution of OBAFEMI University. He completed and obtained his LLB degree in 1989, and in 1992 he decided to add another academic feather to his cap by obtaining a master's degree in law, still from this prestigious institution. On account of Professor Soni's outstanding academic performance, especially at the postgraduate level, the authorities of the OBAFEMI University offered him a position of junior trainee fellow of the Faculty of Law in 1991-1992 academic session. This was enthusiastically accepted by him, and he rose through the ranks from being a JTF to the position of Lecturer 1, where he had the privilege of serving as one of the acting head of the Department of Business Law, specifically in 1997. In his quest for further specialization and for further career advancement, he transferred his teaching services from the OBAFEMI University to the University of Lagos in the year 1999. As it was at OBAFEMI University, the story of Professor Sonni continued and still continues at the University of Lagos. His career has flourished in so many ways in the University of Lagos, as he was promoted to the position of a senior lecturer within a space of 18 months of joining the university in 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really great. For those of us in academics, we know the meaning of this. In the year 2010, Professor Sonni acquired his doctorate degree in commercial law with specialization in taxation from the University of Lagos and was appointed an associate professor in the year 2013. In 2016, God crowned his efforts when he had the singular honor of being simultaneously appointed as a professor of commercial law and occupier of a professorial chair endowed by the Lagos State Government in the University of Lagos for the advancement of taxation and fiscal matters. This has interestingly earned him the very qualified title and sobriquet of a double professor, the first of his kind in the University of Lagos. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, the Dean, opportunity for international exposure beckoned on Professor Sonni when he won the prestigious United States government's 10-month Fulbright Fellowship for Foreign Scholars in 2003. This afforded him the platform to attend the International Tax Program of Beasley School of Law, Temple University, in Philadelphia, USA. He was appointed during the same period as a research fellow of the Institute of International Law and Policy at the Temple University. Part of the testimony of the lasting impression of his outstanding contributions on the international scene is that he is presently the trustee of the United States Government Exchange Alumni Association in Nigeria. This is the umbrella body for beneficiaries of all exchange programs in Nigeria that is sponsored by the United States Government. You know, some of us are still aspiring to take benefit of some of these international opportunities. So help us God. Without mincing words, Professor Sonni is highly prolific as he is scholarly. He has to his credit several international and national journal publications with over 60 published articles, monographs, edited books, chapter contributions, books, and his outstanding research focus, not surprisingly, covers fiscal federalism, tax simplification, and tax education. He has placed his research output in the public domain for the benefit of legal and tax communities in Nigeria and beyond. is the author, like I mentioned earlier, of the very famous blue book, Introduction to Law, the Consolidation Federal Tax Statutes in Nigeria, and the Federal Subsidiary Tax Laws in Nigeria. He's also the founder of the Nigerian Revenue Law Reports and African Tax Law Reports, the first law reports devoted solely to tax cases, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa as well. It must not be forgotten that while at OBAFEMI AWOLOWO University, Professor Sonny had started to demonstrate uncommon exemplary vision and leadership at a very early stage of his career by coordinating and supervising colleagues and dynamic young lecturers to publish the famous Blue Book, which I keep referring to, because that book remains one of the high authorities when it comes to legal methods in the Nigerian legal system. Owing to the relevance of Professor Sonny's research output, he has built an impressive network and he has rendered invaluable services to the federal government of Nigeria, to state governments, and numerous local governments and corporate organizations in Nigeria. Professor Sonny has served as chairman of the National Tax Policy Implementation Committee. This was in 2016. And contrary to the famous tradition in government, when you are a member of a committee and you come out with reports and all of that, they end up on the shelf. But for Professor Sonny's outstanding performance while at the Tax Policy Implementation Committee, some of the recommendations that were made by that committee culminated in what we have today as the revised National Tax Policy. This also culminated recently in the development of the Finance Act, which is very popularly known and gained a lot of traction, and also the voluntary asset and income declaration scheme. Ladies and gentlemen, on the international landscape again, I must say that Professor Sonny has further distinguished himself as an outstanding international scholar of repute. Professor Sonny is a member of the advisory group of the International Center for Tax and Development, ICTD, a global policy research network which is being funded by the United Kingdom Department of International Development and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Professor Sonny has been a reviewer for different prestigious journals within Nigeria and even in the African region. Among these is the Journal of African Law, published by the prestigious School of African and Oriental Studies of the University of London. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Sonny is an active member of the Nigerian Bar Association and he started his journey at the Ikeja branch, but is now a member of the Lagos branch of the NBA. Professor Sonny is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. He has served in different capacities. If I begin to read out those capacities, I'm sure we may be here till much late in the afternoon. Let me move to the University of Lagos, which is the current home of Professor Sonny. Professor Sonny has served and continues to serve in the University of Lagos in different capacities. He was the All Master of from 2016 to 2018. He is a member of the ULSU Constitution Drafting Committee, member of the ULSU Election Committee. He is currently a member of the Senate of the University of Lagos, and he has been a member of the Senate from 2019 to date. He's a member of the Academic Board of the University of Lagos Business School. He's a director and alternate chair of Unilag Microfinance Bank, a member of the editorial board, Unilag Journal of Humanities, member of the Journal Committee of Unilag University of Lagos Business School, chairman of the Faculty of Law Clinical Education Committee, legal advisor, Academic Staff Union of Universities, Unilag Chapter, chairman, Faculty of Law, Vertical Extension Unit Committee, and at this point I just have to say, and so many more. Professor Sonny's activities at the University of Lagos also actively involve mentoring of students. He is the coordinator of the Tax Club, a vibrant student advocacy group at the University of Lagos, and he is also the president of the Tax Academician Association of Nigeria, which is a corporate platform for teachers of taxation in the faculties of law, Department of Accounting and Economics in tertiary institutions across Nigeria. Professor Sonny is a trustee of the Nigerian Law School class of 1989/1990. It is no wonder that earlier this year, Professor Sonny is one of the accomplished legal practitioners who have been nominated and appointed as the Senior Advocate of Nigeria Designate. Professor Sonny maintains work and life balance. He's not just been busy publishing and writing papers alone. Professor Sonny is a well-rounded man. He's been actively involved in sporting activities and also is a very social person, being a member of the IFE Recreation Club and the prestigious ILE-IFE Club 1938 of Lagos. Professor Sonny is a child of God and is happily married to Princess Olushola Amoke Sonny, and their union is very richly blessed. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, the Vice Chancellor, Dean of the Faculty, I present to you a scholar of international repute and the document and database of taxation and revenue knowledge, and adjunct professor and distinguished alumni. Welcome. I've just been informed that we have in our midst the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Administration, Professor Karamola. You're very welcome, sir. You are very welcome. I also recognize Professor Ijero of the Faculty of Education. Thank you very much for coming, sir. You're welcome.
Wow. Wow. Was that about me? Anyway, let me thank Kehinde and Damilola Adejumo for that powerful and extraordinary rendition of my modest citation. You may be seated, please. Well, Damilola said she hopes to be some of this someday. But something tells me that you are going to be all this and much more. Because when we were offered opportunity in this great institution, 10 of us, we didn't know the direction that our career would take. But here we are. And the summary is that we are people helped of God. Today we have a Dean of Law, we have a Justice of the High Court of Osun State, all product of this school, and not by our effort alone, but by the grace of God. So if there is anyone who is very young, especially still in school, who is not sure, I can tell you that I wasn't sure too. I didn't even embrace the opportunity. I tried to get out. So, but direction would be available. And in few years to come, you will also be celebrated. I'm not trying to sound like a pastor, but the power of God is real in all areas of my life. And I can't but just acknowledge it. I want to say that I'm not the only expert in taxation here. The Dean of Law has spoken very well about the theme. Professor Lomola had also pitched it at a very deep, of course, as an economist. In fact, fiscal federalism is a borrowed concept from the field of economics. Then the chairman of the occasion has also, so they have made my job very easy. So within the time available, permit me to just stand on the existing protocol. I like to recognize everyone, but time will not permit. But let me quickly recognize Professor Ehidero, who is a father to me. In those years that I mentioned, he was there and he was very steadfast. So thank you very much, Prof, for coming. I want to use Professor A.A. Idowu as a point of recognition for all my friends and all my colleagues who are here. I want to use Chief Bumi Adegoke, the Soko of the source, as a point of reference for all my friends from ILE-IFE. I'm so happy to see you. My due respect and regard to all the members of the top table. Let me begin on a note of gratitude for this privilege of standing before you. Professor Adedeji said I can't remember how he put it, but rather it's a great honor for me. It's a great honor for me to stand before you to deliver this lecture, and I do not take it for granted. So the topic of my discussion is taxation and fiscal federalism, imperative for national development. I will speak to the paper because of time constraint. If you look at the topic, it looks rather abstract. But Professor Olomala said that most of the problems we are facing in Nigeria are attributable to this concept. And then the topic is so topical at the moment. So I've deconstructed it in the simplest term as underscoring the role of taxation and fiscal federalism in transforming Nigeria into England, into Britain, into America. And I'm piggybacking on the magnus opus of Lee Kuan Yew called From Third World to the First, the Singaporean story, 1965 to 2000. If we reset certain fundamental things in Nigeria relating to this concept in 50 years, our story would have been totally transformed. We would have surpassed our dreams. Because there are nations that were brought down, maybe on account of war, famine, who have rebuilt. But what we are about to talk this afternoon is not a quick fix. There have been persistent calls for restructuring, resource control, decentralization, devolution, but yet nothing has shifted in Nigeria. It's as if we are playing a game of the deaf. But recently, before I come to that, the general belief is that there is concentration of power at the center and we need to decentralize. That there is concentration of power at the center and we need to decentralize. But my research output has shown that this is not so as far as taxation matters are concerned. As a matter of fact, reverse is the case. Nigeria has not become what it is today because taxing power is concentrated at the center. Everything is just because of oil revenue. As a matter of fact, when you look at the power that the state government has in Nigeria, in a committee of federal system, they are better off than their colleagues. So it's one of the fresh ideas that I want to put forward for proper interrogation. And I'm happy that there are experts in constitutional law here, there are experts in economists here who can guide us. Some have even said that, let us go back to the 1963 Constitution. Because why not so? At that time, the regions were doing relatively well, and then there was public accountability. So people said, let us go back to 1963. And I also said it at some point in my career. But I've taken a closer look at this constitution, and I came to the conclusion that if we just adopt what we had in 1963, it will not serve the realities of today. Apart from the impracticability of going back to the 1963. While we can learn from history, there are certain things that cannot be changed. So I will speak to this second paradigm shift with a view to changing the direction of discourse on fiscal federalism and allocation of fiscal taxing power. Taxing power, fiscal federalism had come to the fore recently because of this popular case of AG Rivers and FIRS and AG Federation. That was the decision that declared value-added tax null and void, and then asserted the rights of states to collect taxes on consumptions, transactions within their boundaries. It was as if the roof was going to be brought down, and there was tension in the fiscal ecosystem until there was an order which I consider remarkable by the Abuja division of the Court of Appeal, granting more or less a stay of execution. But relief came after that. So what I plan to do in this lecture is to guide and enrich discourse on fiscal federalism by a proper understanding of the tax system in Nigeria and some of these developments. Against this background, I'm also going to attempt to underscore the importance of fiscal federalism, not only in federal and state fiscal relations, which has always been the focus, but also in the relation of states and local governments. I was born in this town and I schooled in this town. When I left this town in 1999, although I didn't really leave because I've always been coming, I don't think the roads of this town have ever been this bad. It's a big embarrassment. But you are going to see that an average IFE man or IFE resident, we expect federal government to come and do it. This is an inefficient system. And these are some of the things we have to decentralize. And then give functions, allocate functions at a level where that function can be efficiently performed. Because it's never going to come. And even if it comes, it's going to be delayed. So there are people who will live a lifetime and the roads in their vicinity will never be developed. This is almost a curse. And that is why we need to engage fiscal federalism concept in a proper context so that we can all help our community. If we have a structure where revenue flows from bottom up, and we are able to retain some of the revenue here first, before it goes to Oshobo, before it goes to Abuja, there is no way you see development in capital city and the federal capital territory and you will see development where you live, because citizens are the beast of burden. And the paradigm shift that I'm advocating in this paper is a system where we are going to give not allocation this time, but taxing power to local government first, and then states, and we cascade it up. These are fresh ideas, and these are things I've been pushing, and these are things I'm going to continue to push until we see it manifest in our constitution and also in our statutes. Taxing power, fiscal federalism, and national development. I'm trying to connect the dots. Any system should continue to adapt. How much is our own system adapting? I've said that notwithstanding the advocacy, nothing is shifting. That the federal government is pushing the blame on the states, which to a large extent is correct, but we should be complemented also by doing the right thing. Fiscal federalism, short of any technicality, basically means that is the economist's perspective of how a federal system can work better. Because a federal system is a deliberate choice to have 3 levels of government. each level performing important functions, and the most important functions being at the local government level. And that is why local government is the fulcrum of development, being at the center of people's life. There are people in developed countries who have never even been to their capital city all their lives. Everything they needed, they can find in there. So, fiscal federalism is on a tripod. The first one is allocate functions in an efficient way. Don't give the center a function that the local government can best perform. So look at who can do what. Look at the skill set, the circumstances, and logic. Refuse disposal cannot be the business of the state. It may be driven by politics and other, but it's not a sustainable model. Then after that, corresponding amount of resources, access to the revenue handles, principally taxation, to finance those functions. Then thirdly, at the end of the day, some localities, communities, states will have more than the other. Then the third leg is federal transfer. Because this is a federal economy, federal government will put money into the hands of some of those locality, communities, and states so that they can maintain what is called national average. Excuse me, please. Apologies. So transfer is inevitable. If we get it right, we will see that people will get assistance where they require it. So it's not a question of we versus them, we win, they lose. It's like a big family where a parent is as successful as the least successful child. So support will always come without wastage, without wastages. Okay? So Musgrave was the proponent of this theory, and then he said that it's important to ensure that people have decisions in, people have role in decision making at the grassroots, so that they can decide where they want to live, and they can also choose to live if their expectations are not being met. How many times do politicians at state level, local government level, tell us what they want to do if they get into power? It doesn't matter, because the decision to elect them and put them in office are taken from outside the locality. And these are some of the things we have to change. So in terms of fiscal federalism, the aim is to promote efficiency and ensure that we have value for money. And I don't see how anybody can argue against that, or anybody should argue against that. Then, division of taxing power. Taxing power, according to literature, is not just power to collect. It's power to determine what to tax and the rate. So if you go by this standard, local government has no taxing power. And also states do not have any taxing power, especially on their most important tax handles. Because the most important taxes are personal income tax, capital gain tax, and stamp duties. All these taxes, they cannot really determine the rate. The rates are determined elsewhere. Then the development is a process whereby something transforms and grows and becomes bigger and more advanced. And what readily comes to mind is the way technology has helped us. We are here today having this conversation. People are joining us from different parts of the world. This was unthinkable years back. The same way our society should also be transforming. The same way we see progress in the life of the dean, in the life of the chairman, in the life of the speaker, we should also see in our society. We can't all be growing, getting bigger, and the society is getting smaller and underdeveloped. It's a mockery of our intellect. And then it's a pointer to the fact that we have all not succeeded as we are parading it. Because our true test will be how much we have been able to put into society and transform the society that gave back to us. Now, the Federal Executive Council recently approved the National Development Plan for 2021-2025 to succeed ERGP, which expired in December 2020. So my question is, what interest does this generate among Nigerians? A lot of people don't even know. How has Nigeria fared in this developmental journey? Then I probed, how can today's youth believe that there was ever a Nigeria where $1 was exchanged for 75 kobo? Where agricultural sector accounted for about 57% of the Nigerians' gross domestic product and generated over 60% of Nigeria's earning, where Malaysia came to Nigeria on an agricultural pilgrimage and then for our palm kernel to transform their economy. Our UCH, University College Hospital Ibadan, was rated as one of the best. Even our universities were rated as one of the topmost in the world. I was in the dean's office and I could see the founding deans, where the examiner, after every exam, will come from top schools to look at what we were doing, and they were rating us very high. So the younger generation, to the younger generation, these and many more will look or sound like a tale of Alice in the Wonderland. So what a paradigm lost. So we have to be guided by the immortal words of George Santayana, who said, those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So the next stage of the paper, I now quickly look at this case that we are talking about. The dean spoke about it, and then the chairman also spoke about it. So it's a case where the AG of Rivers went to court to challenge VAT, because that's the only thing they can do now in the absence of constitutional amendment. So they go to court and wrestle through judicial pronouncement. And the court gave a ruling, the court ordered that the federal government lacked power to administer and collect VAT within the jurisdiction of the state. The court also held that VAT was unconstitutional, null and void, and not only that, also declared withholding tax, value-added tax, withholding tax, education tax, third fund levy, technology levy as null and void, not being specifically mentioned in items 68 and 69 of the Constitution. In my view, this decision was partly right, was partly correct, and partly wrong. The portion of the decision that is correct and unassailable in my view was that state has exclusive, in quotes, power on taxation of transactions within its jurisdiction. This had been established in the case of Aberuagba and AG Federation. The state had power which cannot be taken away from them. If that decision has stopped at that, it would have been excellent. But the judgment went to declare VAT Act as unconstitutional, null and void. If the judge had also considered the same Aberuagba case, the judge would have seen that the Supreme Court had also held in this case that the non-mention of sales tax, purchase tax in the exclusive legislative list does not mean that the federal government cannot impose them. But what it means is that the power of the federal government is limited to international transaction and interstate transaction. And these are clearly what no state can ever tax. And I think that portion of decision is open to attack. And I've reproduced the portion of the decision of the Supreme Court in the case of Aberuagba. Furthermore, the case did not just invalidate the VAT Act, it also invalidated withholding tax, tertiary education tax, NIDA levy, which were made pursuant to a specific item in the Constitution. I think this error emanated from lack of understanding of the arrangement for division of taxing power, because since the judge did not see these taxes in quotes on the exclusive legislative list, then followed the line of resistance that they were residual and also null and void. This is not so. Withholding tax is not a type of tax. It's just a means of administering taxes. Just as the pay-as-you-earn is not a separate tax, but a means of administering taxes. Then there is also an error on the part of the judge not saving VAT Act for the purposes of the Federal Capital Territory. Because under Section 299 of the Constitution, the Federal Capital Territory has power like all the laws in the the National Assembly has power to make laws for the FCT, the ways and manners that the House of Assembly has power to make law for the state. So even if VAT is null and void with regards to interstate matter, it cannot be null and void with regards to transactions within the FCT. Okay? There is something to be said about the VAT law of Rivers, because after the judgment, Rivers then went to court and went to the drawing board and then came up with a VAT law. Okay? The law is almost a replica of the VAT Act, and it actually reproduced many provisions of the VAT Act relating to VAT on import, which, as I said earlier on, cannot be imposed by states, and also issues relating to non-resident companies and also registration and all that. It is remarkable that Rivers State commenced implementation of that law almost immediately. Apart from making that law in hurry, they also wanted to collect the taxes the following day. Forgetting that even under its own law, there are provisions that must first of all be administered before collection can kick in. For example, people have to register, people have to be issued VAT number, people must also prepare invoices which they will issue, and without all these things happening, they started writing to taxpayer to bring the check. And a lot of taxpayers were actually troubled, and you can imagine the relief when the Court of Appeal stayed the execution of that law. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that there are a series of gaps. And my conclusion in this regard is that VAT cannot be handled the way the state at handled it. You cannot make a law that the stakeholders were totally ignorant of until it was signed to law. That is not an efficient approach. Then you cannot make a law on Monday, sign it into law on Tuesday, and begin to administer it on Wednesday. Even the VAT Act in 1993, the law was ready since 1991, but the federal government waited in order to get the stakeholders buy-in. This is how to fill the form, this is how to go about it. Because even the World Bank said Nigeria could not administer it. There were also debates whether even FRS could administer it. At the end of the day, this is here we are. Because in Ghana, it resulted into demonstration. So this is not the way to approach it. And I have a word of advice for the state at the conclusion. So under 4.0, I look at the constitutional framework for taxing power in Nigeria, and I've also spoken about the 1963 Constitution. The big ticket or the big bullet under the 1963 Constitution is that their royalty and mining were distributed to the region on the basis of derivation, and 50% was going to the region, which is very great. Bear that in mind, compared to 13% that we have under the extant revenue allocation law. But different provisions were made for different produce, and if you bother to go through it, they are very complex. Then personal income tax was a regional matter, and this is a complex tax that is mobile. There is no way a state or a region can efficiently administer income tax, and that is why we are always focusing on employees, because that is the people that the tax authority can see. The people who have deep pockets, who have income interstate in different states and also outside the country, cannot be touched by the current system. And also, there was no federal consumption tax. The only consumption tax we had under that was sales produce law, which imposed tax on marketing of agricultural produce, especially cocoa, palm kernel, and all that, through the marketing boards. So I look at it and I said, while I agree that there was a huge difference in terms of autonomy between the 1963 Constitution and 1999 Constitution, we cannot adopt. It is not in our interest to go back to the fiscal provisions of 1963 Constitution because it will not serve us. And I put forward what I consider as an alternative approach. Then I look at what we have now. If you look at what we have now under the 1999 Constitution, we have 9 taxes by the federal government. None of these taxes goes to the federal government exclusively. They are shared with the states, and some of them are shared with the local government. And this is not the practice in other federal countries. Okay, where federal will have its own independent source and then seek to intervene in the affairs of states and local government in certain selected, well-guided areas of intervention. Oh, I want you to make your school open to people from other culture. If you do so, we will provide this support. We want you to make your roads convenient for the disabled, those who are old. We give you some support. So if you look at what we have in Nigeria, you'll see that states have little or no taxing power, the way we have construed it. As a matter of fact, there are some states without a single tax law of their own. They just rely on taxes established under federal statute, delegated to them for administration. The local government, by virtue of the Constitution, Item 1, subsection F of the 4th schedule, tenement rate should be for the local government. But states, under the excuse that the local government cannot do it, have taken over this power. And what we have is a situation where they are sporadically enforced. So people have houses where nobody knocks on their door to come and pay tax. And this is what you have when you locate a matter that is local in nature at the higher level. So in the recent case of Komi Ajibola and Governor of Osun State, a taxpayer challenged the land use law of Osun State on the basis that it was made by a body that was not known to law. That law was made by the government of Osun State. Am I correct? You know what we know is the state of, thank you very much, Prof, by the state of Osun, and the taxpayer will use every opportunity to either avoid or evade. So the plaintiff here, a lawyer went to court and said, look, I'm not saying I will not pay, but this your law has to go. You have to fix this law and put it in the proper, that the person. So what this shows is that we really have to get our acts together as far as taxing matters are concerned. Then I'm coming to the end. Under 6.0, what I now did was to look at some of the major taxes one by one and said, which of them can we really devolve to the states? Since the conversation about fiscal federalism, restructuring and all that center on devolving power to the state. I look at custom duties and I said globally it's always a central matter. But under the 1963 Constitution, certain percentages were going to the states on the basis of consumption. This was unique. And whether this is possible today is another kettle of fish. But if we can do it, that would be wonderful. I mean, despite lack of technology at that time, they were actually looking at the numbers and say, oh, goods imported were going to Osun State. So because of that, a percentage of import duties collected on them should be given to Osun State. So the revenue entitlement of the regions were not the same. It's a question of consumption. Then excise duty. Excise duty are duties on locally produced goods. So if I have a cottage industry in ILE-IFE, why should excise be paid to Abuja? When I need infrastructure, who do I look to? Is it Abuja or the locals? So there is no reason why this cannot be co-shared. This cannot be co-shared. And under the 1963 Constitution, there were also percentages will go back to the regions. Personal income tax, I've spoken about this. This is the most complex tax because it seeks to tax all the earnings of the taxpayer from all over the world. But unless a taxpayer comes to declare his income from all over the world, how will you know? So the system that we have now is that it's a state matter. States lack power to enter into international obligations or treaties. That look, income of companies not above a particular threshold, 20 million, should be for the state. Because it's just unrealistic, it's impossible for the FIRS or the federal government to collect taxes from all. And it is the reality of that that accounted for why the threshold of exemption was introduced in 2019 Finance Act. Okay? Then Petroleum Profit Tax Act. This is where bulk of the revenue comes from, based on theories of division or assignment of taxing power, where majority of revenue is coming from a particular producer. It is dysfunctional to allocate it to a subnational level. People talk about United States, where private interests are recognized. If a citizen of America derives oil from his territory, his obligation is to pay tax on it. But bear in mind that despite the fact that US is an oil producing country, nobody even talks about it, because its revenue, the major revenue, does not come from oil. It comes from. So the recommendation I made here is that we should look at 50% under the 1963 Constitution and do something significantly more in order to address the demand, the just demands of people who are victims of environmental degradation in all these areas. Then the value-added tax. If you look at other nations, you sleep in an hotel or an inn, and you see on your receipt the local tax. Imagine a situation where ILE-IFE is able to take directly, before going to either Abuja or every consumption in hotel in this town, our roads will not be like this. Even if the federal refuses to do it, there will be revenue. How much revenue does a local government have access to after paying salary? Little or nothing. So we need to revamp this by adopting a totally different model. Now let me read my conclusion. Nigeria is presently going through a challenging time. As a matter of fact, we have fiscal crisis on our hands. The deficit in federal and state budget is widening. Inflation is on the rise. Industrialists cannot access forex at official rates to buy raw materials, and what that means is that we have unemployment, underemployment, redundancy, and all that. And our situation in this country had become worsened lately by insecurity, kidnapping, banditry, and the likes. The general belief is that too much power is concentrated at the center to the detriment of the state. A calm review of the framework of division of taxing power have shown that it is, however, not concentrated at the center as such. As progressive as the 1963 Constitution may be in terms of equity in revenue allocation, the actual framework for allocation of taxing power leaves much to be desired. Rather, what obtained then and up till now is an inefficient division of taxing power on the basis of one level of government, one tax. How many of us remember the book by T.M. Aluko, One Man, One Machete, One Man, One Wife? So we have a system where one level of government, one tax. Even if one level of government cannot do it, can one level of government address security challenge in Nigeria? Is that not what gave rise to Amotekun and all these state initiatives? But do we have resources to do it properly? So what I recommend at the end of the day is we should have a system whereby all levels of government, state, federal, and the local government leverage broad-based income tax and broad-based consumption tax. What I mean by this is that anytime somebody is making money, each of these levels of government should get a bite. And the first taxing right should be for the local government. Every time somebody is also spending, each of these levels of government should benefit, and the first taxing right should be for the local government. How? If you live in ILE-IFE and make money in ILE-IFE, the first authority to tax you should be the local government. And the system should be so simple that local government should be able to administer. It would just be a gross receipt, a percentage of your gross receipt, no every calculation. And it should also be so small that everybody in the locality will be captured. It may be something as little as even 2,500 or even as little as 2,000. The beauty of that is that the local government will know the active population. So if they want to effect certain policies, they know what to do. They know what to do. In some other climes where they have that type of data, they know those who really require help. And they are able to put money in their account, in their hands, especially during pandemic, without having to call people to come and queue. The second taxing right should go to the state, where it should also be a percentage, something simple that they can do without too much complexity. But what was already paid at the local government should be deducted from what is paid to the state in such a way that there is no double taxation. If I pay 2,005 to the local government and I'm supposed to pay 10,000 to the state, I should then net off 2,005 against the 10,000 and pay 7,500. And also the federal, where you have the high networks who have already described. And considering that their income can move swiftly from jurisdiction to jurisdiction and across the federal territory, across the national boundary, we need to have a system where a tax authority will be able to pursue them and then bring them. Bear in mind that whatever federal government collects is not for federal government alone. Section 162 of the Constitution mandates all revenue collected from the federal government to go into the federation account, which will now be shared. That means the states will have their own, state, federal government, local government will have their own, and they will also have distribution from the states, from the federal government. So attempt has been made to highlight aspects of the decision in AG, Rivers and FRS which may be injurious to the interest of the state and nationwide as a whole. What do I mean? I am an advocate of state rights, and I fully support states in their effort to do it themselves. Okay? But we should not cut our noses to spite our faces. If there are aspects of VAT which no state can ever collect, why not allow federal to collect them? Like I said, this money is still coming for our utilization and our distribution. And it will interest you to note that about over 50% of VAT comes from imports and also comes from international services and interstate services. If I make a call from ILE-IFE, which terminates in Abuja, no state can collect VAT on it. So do we allow all this to drain away? The answer should be no. A holistic view and understanding of fiscal federalism will reveal that it has potential to deliver a win-win solution for all levels of government in terms of meeting and advancing their objectives. Thus, rather than having a weaker center and stronger states, or vice versa, Nigeria could have a stronger federal system where the federal is strong, the state is strong, and the local government is strong in their areas of influence, and they have resources to do what they are able to do. If we have a good security system, the federal will always leverage that system in order to prevent and also to prevent crime and also detect and punish crime committed. So I suggest that we should embark on a reform which will enable all the levels of government to concurrently utilize income and consumption taxes in a cooperative manner that avoids double taxation. I've done this in a paper which I call Fresh Agenda for Fiscal Federalism in Nigeria, a proposal. And I made that proposal and I said, this can help Nigeria to get out of the wood. So this approach may complement other laudable initiatives which aim to rebuild Nigeria and set it on a path of irreversible progress. Now, since the decision of the Court of Appeal on status quo ante, we have not heard anything about VAT law of either of the two states. And my advice is this: they should go back to the drawing board and begin to work out an efficient model of the consumption tax in anticipation of the outcome of the battle for supremacy of VAT at the Supreme Court. Okay? The state must put their hearts together and ensure that they think through the law, the policy and administration of the new order that will replace VAT. Such a law cannot be rushed, as few states have done. Then, finally, states should decentralize power to their local governments. There is no reason why this cannot be done except for political lack of political foresight on what such a great leader will become if you can do this. If a political leader can see the transformation in various communities, in fact, that political leader is likely to be deified. So they have to. And the good thing is that this does not require any constitutional amendment. So there is a saying, he who seeks equity must also do equity. So if the states in their relation with the federal are seeking to wrestle certain powers from the federal government, there is no reason why they cannot also do the same to the local government. So ladies and gentlemen, this is my presentation. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. It's a great privilege which I do not take for granted. Permit me to recognize the crew of Tax Matters led by Amaka. Tax Matters for almost 2 decades has been a channel of choice on tax issue, and they are my development partners. They have promoted what we do. Through them, our voices have been heard on some of these issues, and I'm happy they are here powerfully. So thank you very much. My regards to Mr. Muiwa Matuluko. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for that very insightful lecture. Ladies and gentlemen, please can we give another round of applause for our guest lecturer. Thank you, sir. The Vice Chancellor, sir, the the chairman of this occasion, the dean of the faculty. And while as we're just about to go into the delivery of the lecture, I had to keep the guest lecturer standing for a little while because we had coming into our midst then the DPC administration, Professor Yomita Ramola. You're very welcome, sir. We recognize the value of your presence. Also, in the course of this lecture, we had someone coming to our midst, someone who is very prominent, talking about the 60th anniversary celebration of this great citadel of learning. We have in our midst this morning, or this afternoon, Professor Charles Ikeji, who is the chairman, University 60th Anniversary Committee. And I would like to invite Prof very quickly. We had to skip this earlier because Prof was attending a press conference as part of the activities still celebrating Great Event at 60. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Justice Dapo Adini, thank you so much for joining us today. My Lord, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, representing the Vice Chancellor, Professor Daramala, thank you so much. How did you manage to escape to this place? We were together somewhere else. It looks as if you do Igbe these days. Anyway, thank you very much for the excellent work that you do. The Dean of Law, Professor the Triple A Adedeji, thank you very much for organizing this excellent event. One of our ancestors, Professor A. Idowu, of course now he knows now. Would you rather, you have to tell me which one you prefer. I can call you a deity too. So you have to make a choice. You have to decide what you want me to call you. The Dean of Social Sciences. I think the Dean is here in many capacities, not the least because the two faculties are next to each other. Thank you very much, Professor Olomola. I've reserved the last for our guest lecturer, Professor Abiola Sonny. Abiola Sonny and I have come a very, 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 very long way. And I'm so delighted and I wish to congratulate you for your designation as a senior advocate of Nigeria. I can cause a lot of trouble now. You know, Abiola and I were roommates when we were in Faji. You remember that second block in front of the boundary? 268 Faj. We were roommates and we've been friends even before we became roommates. But we're literally like brothers. We did a lot of things at the same time, about the same time. From getting married to having kids and all of that. But the rest of it I'll spare you. I'd also like to thank everyone present here today. I can see the real deity sitting at the back, the likes of Professor Indero. So thank you so much for joining us. Not a long story. I'm sorry that I couldn't come at the time the event was starting. I had to be at the press conference announcing the 45th convocation of the university. And I have the responsibility, not just as the chair of the 60th anniversary celebrations, but also as the chair of the University Ceremonials Committee, organizing the 45th convocation ceremonies. So I apologize that I'm not able to join you when you started. These are very exciting times for the university, for everyone that is associated with the university. The university is 60 years, and it's really a big deal. And when we started planning for it, we made a conscious decision that we were going to put our old boys and girls, our alumni community, at the center of everything that we're doing. And I'm delighted that this is what is happening. The coming of the likes of Professor Biola Sonny to this event itself is a testament to, you know, that commitment to put our alumni community at the center of the conversation. So I thank the Faculty of Law for organizing this event and for bringing him amongst every one of us. There's no doubt that the Faculty of Law has, very highly distinguished, old boys and girls. I was asking another new silk designate, Victor Opara. I was asking him, and I'm sure he spoke to you recently, Professor SANNI, that I'd like to know the number of IFE products that are currently being designated as senior advocates of Nigeria. I think he's currently giving me a list of maybe 8 or 9. And I want to put it on record here that the university will celebrate them. We will celebrate them. This is the time for us to actually celebrate our achievements, our milestones, our successes. And under my watch and my committee, we made a commitment that when our old boys and girls, wherever they are, we will make special dispensation to celebrate them. So I'm really delighted. But this 60th anniversary also offers us, old boys and girls, including those who are still here, to become the leverage for the university as we reposition ourselves for the next 60 years again. Since we started these celebrations, we've had several different occasions, several different activities at the level of faculties, at the level of institutes across the university. So it's been a really exciting time. And I can tell you, all over the world, our old boys and girls are celebrating the university. In the UK, in the United States, in Canada, in South Africa, we've received, it's so delightful when you receive pictures, videos about the celebrations that is taking place, for this university. But frankly speaking, we should go beyond just celebrations. This is the time to give back to your university. So for those of you who graduated from this university, especially those distinguished men and women from Faculty of Law, this is the time for you to ask, what can I do for my university? And it is not just about you dipping your hands in your pocket. I know you all have deep pockets. It is also for you to leverage the institutions, the groups that you belong to. Some of you belong to class associations, some of you belong to organizations, and so on and so forth. This is the time for you to say, what can we as individuals and as a collective do to support the university? Already, I can tell you that this is happening. A lot of old boys and girls are standing up to say, what can we do for the university? And they have actually started doing so. I'm happy to report to you that as I speak to you now, under the charge of Mr. Ade Ayeyemi, the EcoBank Foundation, Ade Ayeyemi is the CEO of EcoBank Transnational Incorporated in Lome. Under his watch, the EcoBank Foundation has committed 42 million naira towards the refurbishing of Oduduwa Hall. In 2 days' time, on December 4th, we will be launching the Great IFE Alum Advancement Foundation. This university is now going to have its own foundation. That foundation itself is a product of constant battering from our old boys and girls to say, how do we support the university without going through the bureaucracy of sending money to the university and all of that. And so this was why this foundation has been registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, and is going to be formally launched on Saturday, December 4th at the Lagos Marriott, in Ikeja. We are not just going to launch the foundation, we are using the opportunity to unveil the men and women that will be board of trustees of that foundation. And I'm happy to report, Mr. Dean, that at least 2 members, 2 old boys, an old boy and an old girl of the faculty are members of that board. The chair of the board, of course, is Oyebode, Mr. Oyebode, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. He's chairing the board, and a current serving Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Auchi, is also on the board. So we are delighted that this is happening, and we're using the opportunity of that celebration, of that official launch, to also recognize 60 old boys and girls that have been there for us in very critical times. So 60 of them will be given awards by the university, and I can tell you that it's a constant process. It's going to continue every year, and at some point we'll be reaching out to every one of you old boys and girls, wherever you are, to at least give me 10,000 naira minimum. Of course, I do know that there are people in Faculty of Law, and across the university that will give me far, far much more than that. So I'm delighted that this event has taken place. I'm delighted that you've had a very successful event. I'm delighted that you're able to bring this cream de la cream of distinguished members that are at the high table. And I wish the Faculty of Law all the best. Thank you very much.
Now, next on the program is response from the floor. I know that we've been great audience from the beginning to now, and this is the time for us to have our own time to speak. Maybe before we do that, we need to give ourselves another round of applause. We need to clap ourselves. Thank you. Before I come to the audience, I think I want to take responses, comment questions from the high table. I don't know if you have any of our personalities on the item who want to make a comment, because it's a broad lecture, it's cut across economy. You find constitutional law in it, you find political science if you like, and from other areas of knowledge. I don't know if anybody wants to make comments before I throw it to the audience. Okay, Rosemary, please.
So God be the glory. What here is happening to witness this epoch-making education. Otherwise, this is the mental of the government that we will see. Why did I go there? Then I go there. I am proud of the representative of the Vice Chancellor. While I was listening to this words, you were little. You are living under me. And each time I thought was, I cannot okay, but this lawyer so. And I said, I am not going to tell you because of this happening. This is actually the best people of the day. That's the reason somebody who are familiar with me and my family. That is the understanding. And I think the representation, we are still son of the father. The child has to pay. It's very good to me for so many years. Not only as a student, as a friend. We are only here and here in the place of God is to pay. I love the justice of Christ. We are proud to have it. You see, the man representing the right answer is very clear in the specific time when he was speaking that was representing the right answer. But we forgot that you are here to represent the public king, the family that is very close, for program to the family of God. We are very proud of having you here, and we are long that we will continue to see. I hope you are learning from my best. Thank you. I have listened to comments, postulations, sentiments in the press by the man of the law and the state, by the chairman of the commission, not to talk of Professor Yola, the center of the eloquent paper. I am worried about what I have had. And because I want to continue to speak in peace, I decided to history of the law. It's not the journey of the law. You understand? You remember that one doctor is a poor guy. Used to be our appointed lecturer for the law of law. He had the law very young ago. He came up with me in 76 and a petition act. I got improvement from government to very good. One day, you know that, what I tackled with yours, I wish I know. I never had for yours in this. That's why I tackled this. You wrote this book, you know, I don't know what before. You are not speaking to me. In fact, I don't know what is my friend and you very well. But you are on top of the world. But I was thinking that you are posing that you will see how you don't know your language, you come down and you see, I spoke to the PROF in my paper. When we were talking of enforcement of law, very important. Enforcement is the process of law and actions in this law. You cannot give the decision of the gospel of Christ to federal government very hard, to state government very hard, to local government not. And I had to study us and to go away. So I got the normal purpose under the anyone to entertain the reasons. You know, we are both of factors of the world. We were offered to collect money and arrest criminals, India, everywhere. To cross on the stone in the group, to visit over the world. Started with that was started. Jesus was passing by. Simon was so short, he could not get Jesus to the crowd to collect his tax. He had to have his power play. And when Jesus was asking, he said, wow, you worry. And Jesus said was mentioning in his house of life. You know what happened to the devil? There is the practice. You cannot be the problem of that collection to be federal government. What do you do? You cannot be the state. What do you do? You are not brutal. You don't know the meaning. You don't know the meaning of that. So, when Thomas Mann was talking, that was vision. You understand? You need the concept of observation. I've read it. You are looking to the value. This kind of value. You must have been in my mental health. You must have seen my mental health. You are there. The life of it. I was looking at how do you look at it. The principle of healthy or healthy taxation. You won't get more about that or whatever. If I have one of get exceeded there, what can I do? You people are going to work with. You are hard. You may not give this game back. I don't know what I have up to date. And I tried very well, very long to brought a lot. Whatever you want to react to what I said, please, you want to come and so that you appreciate the law. The context of what we want to do, all of these places that was acting. What we do, like what please and for true words. What is really so that you have something to pay for. As I'm now I am going to don't know what I want to stand for.
Thank you so much. I believe Professor Sanni would like to address all the questions and comments once and for all. So we can now take our questions. If we have questions, we have comments to make, but we are going to be, we won't give you more than a minute to do that because of our time. So the lady, you are number one, then number two, Teresa, 4. I think I can only see 4 hands. Any comment or question from the students? Any one of you has any question or comment you want to make? You have the opportunity now. Okay, we have 4. I have a question written here which I will read out later. Please, Mike will come to you now and you will make your comment or question for me.
My name is Ezioma Osireke. From the paper, when the guest speaker was lecturing, I think that the 1963 is more accountable than what we have now. But it cannot cater for that. It is with only farm and the taxation. This is cocoa and farming. It cannot cater for the list at page 11 to 12. That is 9 of them. So my suggestion is like, why can't we adopt those lists? Since the 1963 is more accountable, why can't we adopt those lists to the 1963 to make use of the 1963 constitution? Or we shift, we now take adopt 1963 and shift this tactics into it. Because from the paper I learned that the 1963 is more accountable in terms of taxation. So I was like, let the list at page 11 to 12 be shifted to this.
I think your question is clear. Thank you. Please, the next person.
Good afternoon. I stand on the 16th protocol. I'm Iguola Pinoyo. Our guest lecturer made mention of federal government, tax, agriculture, our IFE and other rules, and the situation of the security. Now, knowing fully aware that there is no federal or state government that owns land in any part of Nigeria, every land in Nigeria belongs to a particular community in a particular town. Now, what is your body as a tax expert doing to ensure that a particular community whose land has been seized or taken over by state or federal government doing to ensure that they did not lose outrightly? How do I mean? You will agree with me, the university where we are today owns the land from here to Edouaba community there. It was taken over 60 years ago. And the lands that is directly opposite along Ede, on the left side here, we know how much they are selling those lands now. How will the community that holds the one on the right hand that belongs to the university not be cheated when it has been taken over 60 years ago? Don't you think there should be a legal and institutional framework that will ensure that under the land use act, to ensure that even if the land has been taken over 60 years ago, they still pay compensation, certain percentage, to the surviving children and grandchildren of the family that hold this land? First question. The second question, sir. You made mention of the deplorable road of between the Badr and Ife.
Please, sir, you have to make your second question very fast.
Yes, sir. Now, we had this toll gate before. Don't you think the government need to award or give the collection of tax, as we have in European countries, to a very serious and responsible commercial banks who will put this toll gate in good perspective, that at a distance of a meter, when you slot in your card, the main gate will open for you, haven't paid the normal tax to the government, so that this commercial bank will repair this road solidly and take the money back rather than giving it to the individual that embezzled the money. Thank you very much. The last one is on agriculture.
Please, sir, excuse me, sir, please, you won't have the opportunity of more than two questions. The next person, please.
Protocol duly observed. I'm Abiodun Elusami. Thanks for the lecture. The lecture supports the public knowledge that the federal government, that the power is concentrated at the center, but at the same time, at the conclusion, sir, you now drag it back that you do not believe that all the, in terms of taxation, that power concentrated at the center. While we all know fully that the federal government is collecting the tax and distributing it, in terms of distribution, that is where we have the problem. The states that contributed low is collecting high. The agitation is that we should allow the states to generate their income, and we should decentralize it. Meanwhile, most of the points in the lecture supported this, but at the conclusion, you now drag it back that you do not believe that in terms of taxation, that the power is concentrated at the center. Then number two, you propose that the state should try to organize themselves and fine-tune a way of levying their own taxes instead of dragging to collect from the federal government what the government has been collecting. Sir, what about the effect of the double taxation? You talk of a consumption taxation. Already we have it on grants, sir. And what we are dragging with the federal government is the issue of double taxation. Thank you, sir.
My name is Christian AWOLOWO, representing the IFE community. A member of the member. Roko seated behind me. Also a member.
Sir, please speak up, sir.
Yeah, also a member. We want to thank Faculty of Law for this very important clinic that we're starting, and we are very happy to be part of it in the IFE community. We also want to celebrate with you on this OAU at 6. I want to say that the erudite speaker that spoke and gave the lecture, Professor Yewosoni, SANNI designate, is also one of us, and we are happy that we are hosting him and we are also hosting you. We thank you for this thing, and we want you to be inviting the public to come to this kind of clinic all the time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Please, I'm aware that I've been told that Dr. Adeleke, HOD Business Law, has some comment or question.
Professor SANNI, my comments are not questions. Fiscal federalism taxation needs a vibrant mind to really grasp the topic. I want to commend Professor Abiola SANNI for the deconstruction of this topic. I listened to you, and I've never been a lover of anything tax. I mean, I don't grab it. But I must say that this afternoon, some values, there's been a value, addition to me by your way and manner you went about it in simple terms. You just find a way of just, constructing and deconstructing, the issue. I want to thank you. And your global recognition is, your performance anywhere you go, it's just, it's just beginning. You have been recognized globally, and I know you are still going to, get more recognized as time goes on. Thank you, Professor SANNI. Thank you for adding value to me.
Thank you, sir. I'm also aware that Mr. Koyejo has something to say. Mr. Koyejo, please make it fast.
Thank you, sir. I stand on the existing protocol. Mr. Guest Lecturer, sir, on the surface of the submission, you prescribe that the taxing power should be between the states, the federal government, and the local governments. But looking at the regime of electronic commerce taxation, which is a borderless jurisdiction, what would you suggest that should be the rule or the regulatory power, whether within the states, it should be the states, the federal government, or the local government? Since by the nature of the electronic commerce taxation, you cannot precisely say that this is the jurisdiction, whether the states or the local government, or even outside the border of the country. That's my little question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Koyejo. There is a question here. Sir, the person put it this way. What are the ways to undo the politics of devolving tax powers to local governments in Nigeria? Sir, as you were also delivering the lecture, this also came to my mind. And you were talking about bringing about reforms in the generation of revenue and distribution of revenue, which will also lead to development across the country. Then I was thinking about the problem of corruption. So even when we have proper restructuring in our revenue and tax and so on, then how do we overcome corruption, which we know is a major obstacle to development in this country? So, sir, you have the floor now to address the questions. I don't know if you want to stand there or we'll come over, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you very much. As a matter of fact, the quality of questions is an indication that nobody was sleeping. Because you cannot talk to keep people engaged when talking about taxation is not an easy task. Dr. Adeleke said he doesn't like anything taxed. You know that is also the way some people relate with us. So anywhere I go, I said, I'm not here for taxation, I'm here just to look at what Professor Idowu spoke about circuits. So it's about the subject and also the messenger. So it's a challenge for us to actually tell the story in a more refreshing way so that people might begin to at least listen. So it's not possible that people absorb everything at a single opportunity like this. But something will drop, upon which something will be built. Even I myself, I'm still learning. There are positions I took in this paper that I didn't take in my thesis. Because each day we keep learning. We keep learning and we keep putting new things into our cart. And that is the only way that growth can come. So on Professor Idowu, there is no way a 26-page paper will cover everything. If you attempt it, it's going to be futile. As a speaker, you have the prerogative of choosing your themes. What is the message that I want to communicate to this audience? And I know that even the message may not be right, but I want to test it. It's like a development of vaccine for all these ailments ravaging the world. You need to validate it. You need people to give you feedback. So your view is the view you hold until something changes it. Now on the issue of avoidance and evasion, people like it. I think that's the simplest thing for people to understand in tax matters. I have a friend and a colleague, High Chief Olemodu, we attest to this. Idea, we call him Idea. I think anytime he sees me, he say, oh, tax evasion is different from tax avoidance. And he will smile. He will look to himself as if he has just delivered an inaugural. But you see, this is a high-level discussion about not a theoretical issue, but hot issue, which may redirect the fortune of this country. And as a matter of fact, if you look at what I was saying in terms of allocation, is to make it difficult for people to avoid, to make people difficult for it to evade. And that's why I said, give it to 3 levels. And when I was starting, I said, the dean had already given a keynote speech, which the chairman built on, which the representative of the BC, Professor Omojola, also Professor Olomola also built on. And I think that shouldn't detain us. But I've taken that view on board, and then when I have the opportunity to engage again, I will quickly go to that and then move on. Now, about coming to town, coming down to our level relating to VAT, that's a very important contribution. And but again, there is no time to say everything. But let me draw a little light on VAT with a view to show why a state cannot administer it. Now, we have consumption taxes as a classification. Consumption tax, that is tax paid on consumption. Each time you spend, you pay tax. It started with purchase tax. If you purchase goods, the purchaser is the one who will go and pay to the government. Imagine all of us in OAU individually having obligation to go and pay tax on our consumption, on our consumable to government. And then thinkers said, this is too cumbersome. Let us now turn it to a sales tax so that the obligation would be on seller. So instead of all the population of OAU, they then say only people who are selling to consumer. They appointed them as agents of collection. So the tax administration is easier. They just go to them and say, we want to see your record. Then later they discovered that not many people were signing up to collect on behalf of government. And they said, let us develop gross domestic tax, where these taxes will be collected at different stages: production, distribution, and retail. So every transaction in this and the value chain will be subject to tax. Later they now said, to encourage those who are collecting on behalf of the government, let us give them some incentive. That is the improvement of value-added tax over GST. Over GST, and then the beauty of it is that when people collect, they are not under obligation to remit everything. They are entitled to net off what the tax the tax paid by them on their inputs. So if I have a law firm and I bought books, equipment, books are not vertible, I bought a laptop and all the other consumables, and I can show the receipt. So if I've collected 100 on behalf of government, the law says don't give all the 100 to government. Deduct the input on your consumable. So you now see a situation where more people are signing up as agents of government. So this is the hallmark of VAT. You will see that it has many dimensions. And this is why states should recognize that they may have power to impose consumption tax of a lower variant, but not VAT. Because VAT will have intra-state dimension, interstate dimension, and international dimension. I could consume goods produced abroad. So a state may not have power over aspect of that. So I will also integrate that when I'm reviewing Professor Idowu. Now, the lady, I didn't hear her name. The lady in that flowery, yes. You asked a question which I think is very, very critical. You said, look, if the 1963 Constitution advanced accountability, why not let us go for it? Yes. And that is also what I concentrated on fiscal provision, on the provisions on taxation, so that we can move more, we can have more dynamic development. You see, if you are talking about functions, responsibility, what is most important is the finance. The finance is most important. If you struggle for who will provide security, who will do roads, who will do this, what about the money? I know how passionate the people of this community are about the state of the road. But why are we not fixing it? Why are we not fixing the road? And I said, look, the 1963 framework might have served us then. And I pointed some flaws. In fact, this is a major part of this discourse. And this is the first time where I will be putting that in the public domain. Because you see, as somebody who is learning, who is growing, you have to also think through and say, how can we solve this problem? So now, the activists, the political economists who are in the vanguard of fiscal federalism will now take a look and say, what is this man saying? And then try to do something about it. So because the tendency is for us to gloss over tax provisions even when we are making new constitution. That is the problem we had in 1979. Despite the fact that we had the case of Aberuagba, which was a locus classicus in 1985, when we were making the constitution in 1989, we forgot to decide who between the states and the federal should have power over sales tax. Imagine a situation where after all this discourse on AG, Rivers, and FRS, when we are making a new constitution, let's say a new constitution 2022, and we also go to sleep on tax issue. So what I'm saying is that when we are approaching constitutional reform, let us take a closer look at this provision because it may not really serve us. I've noted the comment of Binuyo on the land ownership. You see, it's good to maintain one's lane. There are colleagues who can better speak to that in the audience. I'm not an expert on land owner. What I know on the issue may be so pedestrian and it's not worth sharing with this type of audience. But on the issue of toll gates, there are principles for doing it, but we are not leveraging those principles in Nigeria. You see, there is a reason why we have economics as an area of expertise. Because you want to reallocate resources and say, rather than use government money for this, let the private people come and do it. But in Nigeria, we are tolling the wrong roads, and also there is no accountability. The roads that are tolled have no renewal agenda. And you can see the flip-flop approach. Today, toll gate, tomorrow, no toll gate. Now we are talking. We must approach this from a developmental perspective and think ahead. If you always plan 4 or 5 years, the Dean of Law did not become Dean over 5 years. He had been at this job for almost 30 years. Okay? So we also cannot develop anything and say, if it doesn't work in 2 years, we will look at the problem of tolling in Lagos. And you are on the queue at that Lekki, wanting to pay. There was a time I was going and I said, do you know that it's like drawing our blood? After keeping us waiting for hours, you are still collecting money from us. Because the service is not a tax. People should have pleasurable experience driving through. We should use up-to-date technology. But is that what we have? Taxing power is concentrated. We look at only 2. Income. Right now, states are the ones using income. If you study American history and constitution, they didn't want a system whereby the federal government would be able to tax the Americans directly. And they put a lot of bottlenecks constitutionally. There must be apportionment, there must be uniformity. But the Supreme Court of America recognized that if America cannot tax the people directly, the government cannot be a big, prosperous, and dynamic one. Income taxes was taken over by federal in other jurisdictions during war. They said, look, people are dying. We need to do this, we need to do that. But not money that politicians will collect and put into their pocket. That was when they designed all the welfare program. Oh, you are out of job. There are fallbacks, social safety nets, roads across the nations, railway across the nations. We started this railway in the colonial eras. But now, look at where we are. But we even thank God that at least we have started. These are things that federal funds should be used to do. Okay? So I'm not really contradicting myself as well. But rather I'm saying that the 1963 Constitution is very good in terms of devolution, in terms of, even the word derivation wasn't used in that Constitution. But yet, distribution of imports, exports, excise were based on consumption and distribution at the regional level. So we do not have a system where people are complaining. All this fiscal federalism agitation as a result of the fact that, look, oil money is not well distributed. Not tax. So taxing power is a subset of federalism, and that is what then double taxation. If you look at this paper, I explain, and I think I explained in the course of explanation. What you pay to the state, to the local, you net off against what is payable. But that system is like a pyramid. Everybody at the bottom is captured. But remember, it is something that virtually everybody can afford. Okay? So we have data of all taxable payers. After that, we now begin to focus on those who are in the middle. And say, well, when you pay your tax, net off what you had already paid to the local government. Why the federal tax will now focus on the big fishes, the high net worth people. And remember, when federal government collects all this money, it doesn't pocket it. It's also going to share it. So local government will make, state will make, and then federal will make and also share. So it's a win-win approach. Okay? I've noted the comment of High Chief Tajuddin Olubodu. I don't think it's Alan. Then Adeleke, my brother, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I've already said that even I myself, I don't like taxes, but I have to pay. To become a SANNI designate, you must show that you are paying your taxes. To get some types of clients, you must pay your taxes. If certain clients come for your services and you are not charging VAT, they will go away. They will see you as a high-risk professional. So, if we have a system whereby it is difficult to make evasion, which Professor Idowu is passionate about, difficult, then we'll be getting elsewhere. Then my dear Apollo Michael Koyejo, electronic commerce taxation. You see, in other clients, they are not talking about these threshold issues. What we are talking about here today can be likened to kindergarten conversation on taxation and development. What they are talking about in other clients are dimensions of taxation of digital economy, and then the consensus that just emerged, where out of 140 countries within the inclusive framework, 136 had already signed. So US came late with a proposal which changed everything. So because some of these taxis, some of these companies are not here, and they don't have to be here, and their business model is such that they don't even want to be here, but they are able to make money from here. So the debate is that if you make money from here and we can't see you, how do we make you pay? Without international cooperation, this is not possible. Nigeria made significant economic presence order, which is still being carefully monitored. Okay? Until we see the outcome of that. What majority believe is that unilateralism may not really help. So that is a very, very important question. Koyejo, are you teaching tax here now? Oh, fantastic question. So these are the kind of engagement, and these are the kind of areas where you can also key into and gain your own voice in the international arena. Because international taxation is an area where we have little or no experts in Nigeria, except a few of our technocrats who have been trained over the years and who are representing our interests. So you may choose to actually devote more time and energy in this area. Then the last but not the least question, what are the ways to handle taxation politics of devolving power to the local government? Two things. The first thing is to prioritize taxation. We are talking about taxation here because a government of Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu took a political risk and he said that this is the way to go. Was it popular? No. If you know the battle that administration fought, when it made its land use charge, the assumption is that Lagos will become more developed than City of London. But the organized president fought. The government set up an institution which was immune from politics. You cannot go to the governor on an assessment and he will listen. So that's the starting point. There was a time when a governor in this state said he will not even tax people at all. And that, look, importing tax policy of Lagos will be counterproductive. And I said, did I hear that correctly? Without taxation, you cannot even help the poor. Without tax revenue, I stand before you today. There is no way I could have had the education I have. Because the money that was being used to train me must be coming from somebody's pocket. So redistribution, we need to look at it, not focus on the informal sector, focus on the employees when we leave those who are high net worth individuals. So that's the first thing, make taxation a policy, and it's getting better. It's getting better. Things have also changed in this state. At least effort is being made to close the tax gap, but we need to go beyond just patching the holes. We need to do something. So let the governor engage on this proposal. If you need to get traditional rulers to help in collecting, fine. Then you need to also pursue residents who have economic interests outside your state. Then the next thing is to now allow it to penetrate. The tax culture must penetrate, so that it now requires a design. What we have spoken here this afternoon will require a design of a constitutional framework, a design of the appropriate law. This will not happen unless we invest in it and unless we make them powerful. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I've omitted any question, it is not my will. We just have to draw the curtain here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Abiola Sonny. I'm sure the distinguished audience will agree with me that if I confer the title of the tax surgeon on him, because you could see how he was able to dissect each of those questions that were asked, and he was able to elucidate eloquently on each of those questions. We thank you very much, sir. And from the audience, we would appreciate another round of applause. And to the audience, I must appreciate each and everyone that made comments, that asked questions. You know, you've been quite engaging, and I must appreciate you for also being patient with us from the time we started this program up to this moment. I can still see that the hall is not almost empty, and we appreciate and celebrate you for your patience. We're about rounding off this program, and I would just want you to exercise just a little bit more patience because we are rounding off. And on to the very next item on my order of events here is the closing remarks from the chairman of this occasion, my Lord Honorable Justice, the chairman of the occasion, Honorable Justice Dapo Adeniji. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. No doubt, distinguished audience, I believe we must have, we have been treated indeed to a very deep and incisive lecture on taxation. Like Professor Olomola so they also said the other time, it is an axe topic. It is a topic for this moment. And our lecturer has been able to do justice to it substantially. If not only through his presentation, but also by the fact that he was also able to address us frontally, one-on-one. For me, number one, I want to appreciate the opportunity given to us to be here today. I appreciate the faculty and appreciate the university that produce people like us to be here today. When we were growing up, when we joined this university or when we were admitted, 1985, we never knew that the time will come where we will be in a position to be able to address an audience like this. We only wanted to come and just pass out and graduate and go somewhere. But here we are today. I want to appreciate God for this opportunity, and I pray that God will continue to kind of advance the course of this university. Number two, as for me concerning this topic, he has said so much because he's a professor. He has said so much because it's a learned say in Designate. But as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to taxation issue or tax issue, what should be of paramount importance to everyone, the government and the government, is the fact that we must fashion out a policy whereby people will be able to discharge their civic responsibilities. And the government will also, simultaneously, will also be in a position to showcase what these taxes that are collected from people are being used for. He said, even for tax, he will not have been where he is today. But AWOLOWO did that. AWOLOWO did that in the days of old. That is why we have so many people now who are the so-called elites in our society. So I think we must fashion out a policy or a system whereby tax as a veritable weapon of development will be imbibed and be put into use in such a manner that the problem we are facing in this nation will be abated. What are the problems? As I have said, we are facing huge economic crisis. We have so many people who are unemployed. Our infrastructures are in a state of decay, dilapidation. Our roads are not things to write about. How can we develop them? How can we advance? The only way, apart from oil, which is dwindling, the resources from there is dwindling, the only way by which that can be done is by we imbibing or channeling our energy towards ensuring that people pay taxes. So whatever can be done to ensure that as many people as ought to pay taxes are made to do that, it will be better for us, better for generation coming behind us. Thank you very much for the privilege to be here, and I pray that God will continually give us the enablement to be in a position to do more for our institution. They have said something the other time, and it's a seed. They planted a seed. Wherever we are, what are we trying to do? What do we want to do to empower and develop the more this institution? On my own part, whatever I can do to help this institution to get a greater height, better height than it is, I will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my Lord. Without wasting our time, it is my pleasure to call Professor Akorede Yusuf to give us vote of thanks. Professor Yusuf is the HO of the Public Law Department.
All protocols duly observed. I'm standing in here for the chairman of the local organizing committee, Professor O.A. Fatula, who unfortunately is not able to join us here today. I want to appreciate the chairman of this occasion, my Lord Honorable Justice Dr. Adeniji. Thank you for coming. I want to appreciate the Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Eyitope Ogunbodede. We have seen how the university value this event today, that the Vice Chancellor could not come in person, but he asked the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor Olomola, to represent him. Professor Olomola, we are grateful to have you here in your capacity as the Dean of Social Sciences, as an expert in economics, and as representing the Dean. Thank you very much, sir. The Vice Chancellor, thank you very much, sir. We also have the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Yomi Daramola. We thank you for always associating in your capacity, even before you became the Vice Chancellor, with our faculty. Anything that we have to do, you are always in the forefront and supporting us. We are grateful for your creating time to grace this occasion today. Thank you very much. We are grateful, sir. The Dean of the Faculty, Professor A. Adedeji, thank you for taking up the mantle to ensure that within this university, Faculty of Law is not missing in organizing the 68th anniversary program. I want to appreciate Professor Idowu for being our leader in the faculty that we see all of the time. Our other leaders, particularly Professor Kupola, is unable to make it today, but we are happy to have Professor Idowu providing that leadership and support, that we could see him behind us, and then we move on without entertaining any fear. Thank you very much, sir. We also want to thank our lecturer today, Professor Abiola SANNI, SAN Designate. We are grateful that we called you, and without ceremony, what time do you want me to come? And what do you want me to speak about? It was not a matter of, oh, I have engagements here and there. He canceled things so that he could be with us. And we have seen today that he just didn't come. He came well prepared. We are grateful. God bless you, sir, and continue to increase you. I want to appreciate the university community as a whole, because this place is an academic environment, and we can see all shades of opinion and people represented here today. Want to appreciate the IFE community also, represented by high chiefs and eminent royalties. Some have left. We thank you. We want to appreciate all professors, Professor Indero, Professor Aaron, High Chief Oremodu, and all the VIPs whose name we have not been able to get, who are here today. We want to appreciate all the heads of department in the Faculty of Law. The head Department of International Law, Dr. Oluwabi, the head Department of Business Law, Dr. Adeleke. We appreciate you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution. I want to thank the Faculty Secretary of the Faculty of Law, Mr. T. Bamidele, for always providing all necessary registry support. All the staff of the Faculty of Law, we appreciate you for the cooperation. We thank you. We can see that the hall, in spite of being on holiday, so to say, the hall is fairly well populated. We appreciate all the postgraduate students in the faculty at whatever level, LLM, MPhil, PhD. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating. We appreciate the Nigerian Bar Association, IFE branch, and other branches that were here. Saw the chairman here earlier and other members of the NBA. We want to appreciate all our students at the undergraduate level. It's wonderful to call you, and you are here. We compel attendance, but of course some did not feel compelled. Those of you who are here, we thank you for making out the time. We also want to appreciate all the staff of the faculty as a whole, teaching, non-teaching. I think I need to emphasize that. The population of the non-teaching staff that are here today is extremely encouraging, and we must not let that go without acknowledging you. Thank you very much. Tax matters. They've been here setting up, providing coverage, and this program today will be aired on 8 channels. I want to appreciate you for always being there promoting everything about tax. All the members of the local organizing committee, it's a fantastic job that you have done, and we thank you. The setting up of the electronic and the stage, everything that you have done, thank you very much. Our MCs, it appears as if you are professionals. This is just the beginning. Because you have done it right today, We won't be hiring MCs in the faculty again. Thank you for what you have done. Ultimately, all thanks to God Almighty, who has made it possible, who has blessed us with wonderful time. Thank you, even for those who are only able to join us online. We are grateful for creating time. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Let me also recognize the National Association of Academic Technologists. They are members in our midst. We recognize you. We apologize for not doing that earlier than now. Now it is time to take the national anthem. Please let us stand up. Unfortunately, the person in charge of the sound system, we can't find him around, so we have to make do. Okay, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's the one coming. So we play the national anthem. Anthem, please.
Great Ife, Africa's most beautiful campus, conscious vigilance, progressing, a good against all oppression, forever, backward never for learning and culture, sports and struggle, great Ife, I love you, there's only one great Ife in the universe, another great Ife is a counterfeit.
Please let us not rush to go out, because we still have about 2 more things to attend to before we leave. Please, there will be group photograph, but before then, we will be led out by the DFC administration to the opening of the faculty law clinic. And after that, we have the group photograph. Thank you.